light as we run. Cash on light as we run.
Delivering fascinating subjects, interesting talk, and boobs and fart jokes. AD on iHeartRadio.
Yeah, oh, let's go. Talking that mess, better act like you know. Oh, let's go tonight. Walk away, punk, yeah, bitch. That's right, I know this. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. You're nothing but a punk, bitch. So walk away, yeah, yeah.
Key and Peele just posted a third installment of their East versus West sketch where they play football stars with ridiculous names, part of their super terrific big game special. That's how I am legally obligated to refer to it on the radio. Yes, part of their super terrific big game special, you know, the big game where the avian predators of the Pacific Northwest take on the Boston-based caricatures of our founding fathers, and it's part of their special that airs on Comedy Central. This one's better than the other ones. Generally speaking, I understand lots of people love Key and Peele, and I kind of don't get it, but this one's good because they actually got actual players to be in it.
Creme de la creme. Vanderbilt University. HaHa Clint Dix, University of Alabama. Doink Hanahue, Marshall.
Lijay Doozable, University of Central Florida.
Ron Pluggett, University of South Carolina.
Cornelius Tank Carradine, Florida State University.
Mamadoun Shazbot, Tulane University.
JR, Juniors. Junior, Texas Christian University.
Aaron, Rodgers, Cal.
The real names in there were HaHa Clinton Dix, A.A. Ron Rodgers, and DeBrickenshaw Ferguson. It's
no
true.
Way.
Yeah. Anywho. Well played. Maybe I'll give that show another look. It's not that it's just like, you know what it is? I don't really like sketch comedy, I think. People are like, oh, it's sketch comedy. I'm like, I don't like it. And then I watch things like the Amy Schumer show and I realize, oh, maybe I do like sketch comedy. I'm not sure. But anyways, I did not get Key and Peele for the most part. I would watch it because all my friends were like, it's the funniest thing ever. And I was like, I don't get it. They're like, you need to watch it again. And so maybe it's one of those things that make a lot more sense to you if you smoke pot, which I don't. So do you watch it, Funkhauser?
Yeah. I mean, it's hit and miss. You know,
Yeah.
it's like they take a lot of writing risks that sometimes don't work. But you know, I like the overall. Like they have the Obama bit where like Obama has like a bad side, and
right?
One of them is Obama, and the other one's like Obama mad.
Right, Matt, what he said, you know, actually that I really relate to, and I think everybody really relates to, the one where like what Obama actually says versus what he's thinking, you know. Yeah, that was actually that was, I have seen clips of that and that was good. But whenever I go to watch it, I'm like, no. Oh well. Too bad, so sad. I'm sorry. It's funny because they've been hailed as the saviors of television comedy, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's sort of like, it's okay. It's just okay. It does sort of okay. And it's just that, like, just okay is the new version of survival in this new form of media that we're in, where you can never have a screaming hit anymore because everything is so splintered and fractured and people are watching on so many different outlets that just something that vaguely ticks over is now a screaming sensation, the way Key and Peele are viewed. But whatever, I'm glad they're doing well, and I'm glad all my friends seem to enjoy it. It's kind of like country music. The rootsy allure of country music continues to evade me, and I could say the same thing for whatever sort of allure Key and Peele have. But God bless them for doing well. Only 2 weeks after Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg released a strongly worded hashtag Je suis Charlie statement on the importance of free speech, Facebook has agreed to censor images of the Prophet Muhammad in Turkey. Yeah. This includes the very type of image that precipitated the Charlie Hebdo attack. You know, I know that's how it's pronounced, Charlie Hebdo, but I just feel so wildly pretentious saying Charlie Hebdo, not pronouncing the H, because, you know, we're in America. Yeah, it was like this band Franz Ferdinand that we play on pretty much every radio station that I work for, and I was saying Franz Ferdinand, and a buddy of mine was like, you know, AD, it's not Franz Ferdinand. If you listen to how the band pronounces it, it's Franz Ferdinand. And I was like, yeah, here's the thing. I'm not going to say Franz Ferdinand. The band can say Franz Ferdinand because they're from Glasgow, whereas you, my friend, are from New Jersey. So piss off back to the garbage state. But I feel pretentious saying Charlie Hebdo. So I've been kind of half and halving it, going Charlie Hebdo. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the case may be. Facebook has agreed to censor images of the Prophet Muhammad in Turkey, including the very type of image that precipitated the Charlie Hebdo attack. Total 180 after the whole big Je suis Charlie statement. And it's an illustration maybe of how extremely complicated and nuanced issues of online speech really are. It's also, to me, kind of conclusive proof of what many tech critics said of Zuckerberg's free speech declaration at the time. Sweeping promises are all well and good, but yeah, the track record that Facebook has with their sweeping promises doesn't entirely back it up. I wish people would just come out and say, I'm afraid. This is fear. There's this like chest-thumping thing with regard to letting the terrorists win or letting... it's just, especially in right-wing talk radio, I notice, like, the word coward is thrown out left, right, and center. Coward. You're a coward. I hear guys say that to their listener, and I hear... It's just... Look, let's not confuse being a coward with fear. Fear is an important emotion. Fear helps keep you safe. Fear is something that was built into our nervous system, that was built into our psychological and genetic makeup to help keep us safe. Now, there's unfounded fears. There's unnecessary fears. There's fears that hold you back in life. But fear, when we feel fear, it's meant to help us stay alive. It's that caveman-esque instinct that we have that when we see a saber-toothed tiger or a mountain lion or a giant snake or a thundering herd of woolly mammoth, we're supposed to be afraid. And that fear is supposed to help us release adrenaline, which is supposed to get us out of the life-threatening situation that we're in. Fear should not be confused with cowardice. And too many people are going to look at what Facebook has done and go, ooh, that's cowardice. I'm not sure that it is. It is, let's be clear on this. I'm not flying to the defense of Mark Zuckerberg or Facebook. It's hypocrisy. But I wouldn't call it cowardice because I think it's okay to admit you're afraid. I think once we start saying we are afraid, it's not the most macho thing on the face of the planet, but to say we're afraid, well, it's justifiable, and it's going to help us get to the root of what's going on at the moment. Saying we're censoring pictures of the Prophet Muhammad in Turkey because we're afraid. We're afraid because radical Islam killed 12 journalists in France, a country that has done everything possible to roll out the red welcome carpet for the Islamic faith. He gave them an inch and they tried to take over. They killed 12 people. And because of that, we're afraid. We're afraid that Facebook employees, all over the world are in danger of being killed, gunned down like they were in France. Facebook employees are in danger of being killed by radical Islam. We're afraid of that. Therefore, we are censoring this picture because we want to keep our employees safe. They signed up for this job because they wanted to work for Facebook. They wanted to work for a social media network. Same with the people at Twitter and Google and all the places that have gotten terroristic threats from this fringe group of wackadoos that seems desperate to plunge the entire planet into the dark ages. We're afraid of that because they kill people, and that's okay. But let's just call a spade a spade. Let's just admit there's a danger and work from a place of there's a reason to be afraid. Because these people, you can't reason with them. There's just nothing that you can do in terms of reasoning. So we've got to take adequate precautions and we've got to figure out how we're going to deal with them. And it certainly won't be with reason. It's okay to say you're afraid. It's not okay to be hypocritical, but it's okay to say you're afraid. So if I can borrow from the great Garrison Keillor, it's been a quiet week in Pristina, Kosovo, my dad's hometown. My dad moved to former war-torn Yugoslavia a little over 10 years ago now, I think. He's been there off and on. Initially working for the UN. And my dad is a lawyer. I think he did, I know he did corporate energy business law back in the day, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and has some really interesting stories about negotiating at Cold War Russia. He tells an amazing story about going into a negotiation with Russians back in the day and what Russians would do as an intimidation technique. He was like, it's interesting. When I was dealing with Russians, that's a set of people that, they believe every situation has a winner or a loser. There's no meeting in the middle with Russians. So they're going to go into every negotiation, not trying to find something that works for everyone, but trying to win. And part of what Russians do when they're trying to win around a negotiating table is, well, as a technique, they like to get their competition sloppy. And every time you kind of reached an agreement while going over contracts, you were asked to take a shot of vodka, and you weren't a real man or a real woman if you weren't doing that. And my dad, getting ready to go into a negotiation once with a coworker in Cold War Russia, my dad noticed the coworker in the bathroom eating a half a pound of butter. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And the guy was like, I can't take all those vodka shots, and eating this butter will coat my stomach so the alcohol won't get into my system, hopefully until we're done negotiating. My dad's got some interesting stories. And I think, well, it's interesting being a child of the 60s who some of those I won't even call them hippie because that downgrades them a little bit. Some of those more humanistic values that came about in the 60s stuck with my dad. And I think after working in corporate oil for a little while, he decided that, I don't know, maybe he was making reparations. Probably not. He just wanted to be involved in international human rights, things of that nature. And in Kosovo, my dad climbs up and down this thing called the Dragadan Hill. This is how he stays fit. Lots and lots of steps. And he goes for this walk every day. And I asked him how it was one day. He was like, pretty quiet. Did my Dragadan Hill climb. Came back to discover a big demonstration about Kosovo-Serbian issues and what a bad government people here have had taking place at the spot where I like to hang out. He said, nobody hurt, but tear gas happened, but it's not dangerous. I was like, ooh, really? Tear gas demonstrations? Okay. And he said, nobody hurt is the good bit. The demonstration might end up being positive if it gets the government to pay attention to people. And then my dad told me something that I was really interested in. My dad said some time ago, the U.S. and European embassies here were giving seminars to local people about how they could be more proactive by doing things like demonstrating against bad government. I thought, how interesting. Here, the American government wants us to be joiners, wants to shut up and vote. But in the early stages of democracy in former war-torn Yugoslavia, they're actively teaching people how to have a voice. And maybe things would be better if we had a little bit of that here. Thanks so much for hanging out.